Since I was a kid, I have been a massive fan of music. At the height of my music collection in college, I must have had thousands of cassettes and CDs. And as a huge music fan, I loved every chance I got to head to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, and check out the exhibits that celebrated the very best artists that changed the face of music. From Elvis Presley and Led Zeppelin to Bob Marley and Aretha Franklin and everything in between. The inductees were shown honor for their accomplishments in the music industry. But Hall of Fames aren't just for music acts, there are Hall of Fames for everything. Baseball in Cooperstown, football in Canton, college football in Atlanta. Walk down the streets of Los Angeles and you see the Walk of Fame honoring entertainers of all sorts. As a culture, we love to show honor to people who make a name for themselves and are great at what they do. And let's be honest, many of these people should be honored. They're the best in their fields and have accomplished some pretty remarkable things in their lifetime. But could it be that this Hall of Fame culture might be missing something about honor? Chances are, if you have kids in sports or competitions of any kind, you have a growing collection of ribbons, medals, sashes, badges, certificates, trophies, plaques. Some hang on the walls or sit propped up on shelves somewhere. Others get stuffed into a drawer and eventually thrown out. These were so important when they first came into our homes, but at some point they just lost their value. And what if your kids are those who rather hang out reading in their rooms or love being a part of what's happening behind the scenes? If honor is only shown for what you do and not who you are, how many kids might grow up wondering if they will ever be honored? What if honor is more than getting a trophy? Honor is letting someone know you see how valuable they really are. Did you catch that? People should not just be honored because of what they do. They should primarily be honored because of who they are. Your stuff will lose value over time, but not people. At its core, honor is seeing people the way God sees people. We're naturally wired to put ourselves first, but honor is the opposite of that. It's seeing others as valuable. This is something that comes from your relationship with God. People start showing honor when they understand those around them were created by God. In a sense, one of the best ways we can honor God is by honoring those who reflect the image of God. That's why we've chosen to memorize something Paul wrote in Romans 12:10. Love one another deeply. Honor others more than yourselves. When someone understands the principle of honor, it changes the way they treat everyone. They tend to see people that are typically overlooked by society with a different kind of value. They tend to see those who are in authority with a different kind of respect. They tend to see their peers with a different kind of appreciation. When it comes to honor, there are two people in the Old Testament that come to mind. The first is David. In week 1, we see how David's story starts when God sent Samuel to Jesse's house to find a new king for Israel. God chose David as the next king because he saw that David's heart was aligned with his. Then, when Goliath was shaming God's people with his threats, no one would stand up to him. But when David shows up, he decides to do something about this. King Saul thinks he's crazy for not using armor, but gives him a chance anyway. And God uses David to defeat Goliath. We hope kids learn that they can honor others by giving them a chance. In week 2, we'll discover that after David was anointed king, something incredible happened. Maybe you've heard of Jonathan, maybe you haven't, but he was the guy who was next in line for the throne. He could have been jealous or threatened by David's military victories and his growing popularity. He could have fought for what was rightfully his, but Jonathan didn't. There's this famous scene where Jonathan, in an ultimate act of honor and loyalty, gave David his robe, his sword, and his bow. And David, in return, makes a unique promise to always look out for Jonathan and his family, even though they could be a threat to his kingdom. Why? Because David knew something we pray our kids learn as well. Honoring others means putting them first. Then, many years later, King David kept his word to Jonathan. The only person left in Jonathan's family was a man named Mephibosheth. David didn't owe Mephibosheth anything, but he made a promise, and he honored Jonathan and Mephibosheth by not only making good on that promise, but also going above and beyond to welcome Mephibosheth into his own family. Through this story, we can all learn to honor others by keeping our promises. In our final week, we'll look to the life of another guy who's known for how he honored God when his life was on the line. Daniel was known for faithfully praying to God. And when the leaders tried to trap him and have him killed, Daniel honored God in spite of what could happen to him. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, but God shut the lion's mouth and rescued Daniel. The secret to showing honor to others is to understand that it begins with honoring God and giving him the credit for everything we have. If you want to invite your kids into a better story, invite them into a story where they learn to show honor to those around them. Honor notices those who aren't being noticed. Honor puts others ahead of yourself. Honor shows value to others when you keep your word. Honor is ultimately based on how you view and respect God. What if we began to teach children to look at the people around them as if they really believe those people had been made in the image of God? As if each person was wearing an invisible sign that said, "Show me I'm worth something." As leaders, we have this great opportunity to raise a generation of kids who look at the world around them and attach value to other people, not because of what they do, but simply because they are created by God.